What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about whether you need a 12-step fellowship program to get sober. Now, this is not a sobriety channel. It's just something that's been prominent in my life, so something that's come up with me in my life in recent weeks and discussions that I've had. So I wanted to come on here and talk about it as well. I guess I'm making this video because obviously I'm sober. It's a big deal for me, and my life has changed a lot because of it. And there's been people that have popped up in my life in recent weeks that are sober and they don't do a program. So for anyone that is struggling and they're looking for, they understand that a change needs to be made and they're looking at ways to do that, I wanted to just try and talk about that a little bit in this video today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 12 steps and I'm going to try and compare them or think of ways in order for you to, I guess, still have a 12-step program but without actually doing the 12 steps. And would that be suitable? Would it work? So yeah, let's get straight into it. So the first step is admitting to yourself that you were powerless over drugs and alcohol and that your life had become unmanageable. Now, whether you want to take a 12-step program or not with a sponsor, or you just want to get sober by yourself, which I don't actually think you can do, you're going to need to understand that you are fucked, basically. And that, you already know, if you're watching this video, the chances are that you are powerless over drugs and alcohol. Do you know what I mean? Because you're bothering to watch it. So, the first step, whether you're using a 12-step program or not, is to understand that you are fucked and you need help. You've probably tried to stop multiple times and you failed. Whatever that may be, whether it be alcohol or drugs or fucking sex or food or whatever it is. And as soon as you put one in, as they say, you have no control over it. So that's kind of the same for the 12 steps, or whether you were to get sober on your own. You need to understand that you have a problem and you need to admit it to yourself. Otherwise, you can't do anything about it. So the second step in the 12-step program is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, the fellowship is a spiritual program. The 12-step program is a spiritual program. So, if that's not your thing, or you're not a spiritual person, or you don't have any faith, that's absolutely fine. But can you believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity? Now, people have their own concepts of God. And I've said before, I've met a lot of different people from different faiths and backgrounds in the 12-step fellowship. But, if you're not a spiritual person, you don't have a faith, can you believe in something greater than yourself can restore you to sanity? The only way I could really substitute that would be for you to understand that you can't do this alone. You're going to have to ask for help. That's probably the only way I could really, try and balance that out for you. I mean, that's what happened with me when I got sober. I was like, do you know what? I am fucked. I can't live properly. I don't feel good in my own skin. I probably need some help. And I've tried for years, decades, to try and do it alone, and I failed. So maybe I should fucking get, ask for some help this time. And it worked for me, but that's the only sort of way I could make that work, in a sense. God comes up a few times in the 12 steps, and it's not like I said, it's not a God program, it's a spiritual program, and it is a God of your own understanding. It can be whatever you want. It can be a fucking fish. It can be a dead relative. It can be the ocean. It can be nature, the universe. It could be Jesus. It could be Allah. It honestly doesn't matter. And some people, you know, myself included, I don't know what the fuck I'm praying to. I honestly don't. You know, it's become more of a spiritual thing for me. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm getting off track. We'll get on. Step number 3. We made a decision to turn our will over to the care of God. As we understood him, I've put her, them, or it, because you don't know what it, you know, your beliefs are your beliefs. So, you know, this is a big one, really. And if you're not a spiritual person or, you know, a person of faith, there's not a lot I can do for you here. Do you know what I mean? To turn your will over to the care of God, do you know what I mean, is, you know, that's a big deal for someone who's not a spiritual person. And that's why people struggle coming into the 12-step fellowship. It's because God's a big thing. Do you know what I mean? I considered myself an atheist for my whole life. And it's not easy to develop a sense of faith, do you know what I mean, for anyone. So I'm kind of at a loss here. I don't really know what to suggest. But I guess, you know, try and find some faith that if you apply yourself, you can do anything, and quitting alcohol and drugs included. And the longer you go without it, the stronger that faith is going to build. So again, that's kind of the only thing I could really offer in that situation. Step number 4 in the 12-step fellowship is we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Now, I don't care if you're a religious person or not, okay? It has no effect on me whatsoever. I honestly do not care. But this is something that is, you know, for me, it was one of the biggest steps, because, you know, it's super helpful to make a moral inventory of yourself. You need to analyze yourself. You need to put yourself under the microscope and see what you did wrong. And, you know, why you might have made some of the decisions you've made, things that you've done, things that haunt you, do you know what I mean? When you go to sleep at night, this shit that fucking churns you up inside and, you know, keeps you awake at night or whatever. Putting that down on paper is incredibly beneficial. And then that leads into the next step, admitting to God, or not God if you don't believe in it, ourselves and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. So basically, finding another human being to talk about the shit that you just wrote down. Now, again, like, whether you're in a fellowship or you're not, that's going to be massively beneficial for you to write down all of these problems that you have, issues that you have, why you think you've had them, and share that with another person. That's why people get therapy and shit like that, and that's why it's so fucking helpful, because you're just getting shit off your chest. And you know, it can be fucking decades of backlog, do you know what I mean, or years, or however. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be that long. So that's massive, in my opinion. If you didn't want to take the fellowship route, you would, in my opinion, you should definitely make a searching, moral, fearless inventory of yourself and share it with another person. So somebody that you trust, it might be a relative, it might be a friend, someone that understands your position, and just share these things with them. And I promise you, it's going to make you feel better. Step number 6 is we're entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Now again, anything that's God related, I can't really tell you about, because this is something that you have to find on your own. So, you know, the thing is, once you've done the step 4 and step 5, step 6 will almost feel like you don't, you know, depending on the sort of depth, that's the thing, you have to be fucking honest when you're writing this shit down. You have to be honest with yourself, okay, like fully honest. You can't hide anything. I mean, by the time you've done step 4 and step 5, you will feel a massive weight lifted anyway. For me, it was like, it was gone. Do you know what I mean? That's when I really felt different. It's like, wow, like I feel so much better now. The weight like literally lifted. You know, so I was ready to have God remove my defects of character, because I couldn't carry them anymore. I was just, you know, I didn't even know who I'm giving them to. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, let them go. I don't want them. I don't need them. It's done. If you're struggling with drugs and alcohol and you don't want to do a 12-step program, try some of these things that I'm talking to you about. 7, humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. I mean, like I just said, after I did step 4 and 5, I felt like they were gone anyway, and I could just give them away to whatever. I honestly, you know, I couldn't carry them anymore. So you will feel a change in you at this point. I'm 100% of that. Step number 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. If you weren't doing a 12-step program, it's another thing that you could do, is make a list of all the people that you have fucked over and you know, people that you'd harmed or wronged in any way, and say sorry to them. Now, that's not you know, that's kind of just the right thing to do anyway. Do you know what I mean? So that's going to be beneficial to anyone, whether you're in the fellowship or whether you're not. When you're a dick, you have to say, do you know what? I was a dick. I apologize. I was only doing that because of this, or I reacted in that way because of this, and you made me feel like that, and I'm really sorry for that. Do you know what I mean? Or, you know, sometimes amends is like forgiving someone for something. Do you know what I mean? Letting shit go. You know, it's not serving you to hold on to any bitterness or anger towards people. So for me, I use amends like that as well. Sometimes I say sorry for things, and sometimes I'm just forgiving people. Do you know what I mean? And say, do you know what? You're a human being as well. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Number 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So in other words, you know, say sorry to the people that you harmed, but if it's a situation where you have to tell them something that's going to do damage, don't do it. Okay, because then you're not really helping them. You know, you're making things worse for them. So I don't know your situation, but again, if you weren't to take the fellowship route, do you know what I mean? Trying to make up for the things that you've done wrong, saying sorry to people, it's a good thing. 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So basically, in the 12-step program, you will take inventory on yourself. You will write, some people do it daily, some people do it less often, like a weekly or even a monthly or even less than that. Me personally, I don't really do it, and I probably should, and I've started to do it a lot more. But in my 2-year sobriety, it's probably something I've not done nearly as often as I should. But you know, you'd be writing things like, was I selfish today? Was I dishonest? You know, or, you know, was I just a fucking dick, basically? And if you were, and you realise that, you know, you were wrong, say sorry for something bad that you did. What's wrong with that? There's nothing weird about that. That's, like I said about other things, it's just the right thing to do. Like, if you realise that you're being a cunt, just say, I'm sorry. I think that's fucking great. I think they should teach this shit in schools, to be honest. Step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. And I've put in brackets, her, them, or it. Whatever you believe is absolutely fine. Praying only for knowledge of His will for us and how to carry that out. Now, that's fine, like if you're a person of faith or you're a spiritual person. But if you're not, the only thing I can suggest for you that is close to meditation, for me personally, in my experience, is running. Now, that's because of like the breath work and stuff like that. I do find myself in like a meditative state when I'm running, and like I'm basically exerting energy and a lot of oxygen, which you don't normally do in meditating, but I do try and do deep breathing meditation, and it makes me feel really good, I'm not gonna lie. And the same sort of thing with running, you know, you get that little buzz of endorphins after a run, and just deep breathing is super good for you. And if you weren't a spiritual person and you weren't prepared in any sort of way to sit down and either pray or meditate, then I would just suggest going for a run. Yeah, that's all I got for that really. And then step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, you try to carry the message to other alcoholics and addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So basically, now you've gone through all this stuff, you feel better, okay? You can't then just say, oh, well, I'm good, so I'm fucking off, see you later, world. Do you know what I mean? You need to help somebody else, basically. So if you weren't doing a 12-step fellowship program, I guess you would look for other people that were like you. Do you know what I mean? People that struggled like you, maybe in your community or whatever, or people around you, or friends or relatives, and you would try and help them in any way that you can, basically, and be around for them. You know, you can be on the end of the phone for them whenever you need them. You can make an effort to meet up with them at least once a week, do you know what I mean, and check in on them. You know, you would basically just exactly that. Just try to help people that were like you, because you know what it feels like to be them, and it's not a nice place to be. So you don't need a fellowship to be able to do that. And the reason that this video has sort of come up for me is because my brother's kind of in the fellowship, but he's not fully involved in it. And he says, you know, oh, it's not for me. And which is fine, do you know what I mean? He's still sober at the end of the day. And someone else that we both know, that we grew up together, is also sober. And, you know, some of this stuff, you know, people don't take to it well. And it's, you know, you've got a whole lifetime of programming around things like faith and religion, and so I completely get that. But this person that we know, that we grew up together with, he's sober as well. Do you know what I mean? But that's what got me thinking about it, is because, you know, in these rehab centres and places like that, some of them, they have the 12 steps working in them and alongside them, but some of them don't. So it made me think, like, wow, like, oh, they did it that way, do you know what I mean? But when I thought about it, I was like, oh, they're still doing 12-step stuff. They just don't actually know it, or they don't actually call it 12 steps. Do you know what I mean? Like this guy that we know, he got himself clean. He went into rehab, and you know, he didn't, you know, he realised, he admitted to himself he was powerless over alcohol in this case. And his life had become unmanageable. He realised that, he knew he was fucked. So that's one, he had a step one. And then he went into rehab, he got sober, he also had some support around him. He didn't, you know, he didn't come to believe that a power greater than himself could restore him to sanity, and he didn't make a decision to turn his will and his life over to the care of God. This guy has been sober for years and years, by the way. It's not just a flickering thing. He's been sober for a long time. I know for a fact that in the rehabs and stuff, they do like their life story, and they do other things. So he's basically had a step forward. He's made a searching, moral, fearless inventory of himself. And they have, you know, discussions and therapy in there too. So he's also had a step 5. So they don't have a step 6. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not a spiritual thing. It's these rehab centres. We're entirely ready to have God remove the defects of character. He didn't do that. didn't have a step 7. I don't know about the step 8, made a list of persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all, but I should imagine that they I know this person has. Do you know what I mean? I can't speak for everyone. Made direct amends to people, except wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. I don't know if they've done that. I can't lie to you. Or a step 10 or a step 11. But he has done a step 12, which is basically this guy now. He's what they call a peer mentor, and he works with other people, young people and vulnerable people that were just like him. And he's helped a lot of young people, which is really fucking cool. But that's what got me going. That's what got me thinking about. Do you know what I mean? Can you get sober without a program? And I think evidently, yes, you can. Oh, excuse me. I'm nearly 2 years sober, and before I had my relapse, which wasn't technically a relapse because I wasn't even in a program. I was trying to be sober, but I got 2 years on my own without a program. Now I was still, I didn't have a God or religion or faith in my life, but I was exercising a lot. But I didn't have any of the other shit. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have any of it. I hadn't cleared out my closet, so to speak. I wasn't speaking to anybody about it. And so I was still carrying around all of this baggage, even though I was sober and I felt really good. Compared to having a program, they're like night and day. Do you know what I mean? The clarity that I have now and the tools that I have to deal with life, which is, it might sound ridiculous to you, but I didn't know how to live without this program. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know how to live life. I didn't know that living was possible without a drink or a drug in my system. So I'm very much a fellowship guy. Do you know what I mean? But though I know, a couple of people that have got sober without a program. I know some people that have used a program to get sober and now they're not in it anymore. And I can tell you right now that those people, they're not the happiest people on the planet. And it's no wonder, because, you're not doing things, you're not doing service, you're not doing anything to help anybody else. You basically use the program and then you've just taken it. You've taken the parts of it that you like, you've got yourself sober and then you've gone. Do you know what I mean? You have to give something back. But to answer this really long, drawn out video, can you get sober without a program? Yes, you absolutely can. Yes, you can. But you have to, in my opinion, incorporate some of the things that we've spoken about. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to go well for you. Even the people that I know that have successfully done this have, deployed some of the things that are in the fellowship, and they just don't know it's what it is, or they're just unaware of the link between the two, if you know what I mean. So yes, you can absolutely get sober without a fellowship, but I 100% recommend that you use a fellowship, a 12-step program near you, whatever that may be, to get sober and stick to it, because it's going to make you feel really fucking good. And that's the long and the short of it, and you're going to be able to help a lot of people in the long run. So if you are new in recovery or you're struggling with addiction, just keep trying, reach out to people, get therapy if you need it, or you think you might need help. Go to a meeting if you've tried multiple times and you've never been able to stop, and just keep going, because you will get there in the end. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next one.